Welcome back to Blockchain Channel. I'm here today with City of Zion co-founders Fabio Canesin and Ethan Fast here, and we're here today talking to them about a new project that they're working on called the NeoExchange, or NEX, and they've agreed to answer a few questions for us today. So either of you can chime in, obviously, at any time, and I'm going to start with a really simple, open-ended one. What is NEX?
Sure. So NEX is kind of a new kind of decentralized exchange with higher performance, and the basic idea here is that if you look at the centralized exchanges that people are using today, you have these issues where people don't have full control of their funds, right? So the workflow is you send your funds to the exchange takes control of them, do some trades, then maybe at some later time you want to withdraw. So the vision of the decentralized exchange is to sort of give users full control of their funds at every stage of the process. Now, unfortunately, if you look at how DEXs work right now, the big problem here is they're just super slow, right? So you look at things like Ether Delta. You want to do a trade there, it takes forever. These kinds of APIs are just not going to support the sort of high performance bot trading and such, the high volume, high liquidity that we need for to give you good user experience. So NEX is taking this new approach where we basically give this thing called an off-chain matching engine that provides the performance characteristics of centralized exchange while still giving users the sort of full control of their funds in the sort of DEX style. And sort of moving beyond that, we have this broader vision of a sort of decentralized banking, which we can go into later. But that's sort of the core immediate thing we're going to give users, is this higher usability, this sort of better performance in a traditional DEX.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that a DEX has many applications besides the retail exchange. Like the interface you see when you enter in a normal exchange, we can provide trades on the DEX that are applicable to many other situations, like when you are using dApps or when you are doing trades peer-to-peer, like OTC, or other kinds of liquidity that are actually hiding from the market today. With a DEX solution that has the off-chain matching engine Ethan just described, we can provide that also.
Okay, and so you pretty much answered how you're different from other exchanges. But in the roadmap in your white paper, it states you'll have a cross-chain launch to support trading of ETH and ETH tokens as well. And is that going to be like a genuine cross-chain trading facilitation? Like if I want to buy Neo with Ethereum, can I do that? Or is it like Loopring, where you're literally just launching another version of NEX for each blockchain?
You can literally do a cross-chain exchange, right? So this is one of the big advantages of actually having off-chain matching engine. It can sort of communicate with both chains, right? And so one order can then be matched and then fulfilled in the quantities required on each chain, right? So as long as the users have accounts on both chains, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to say that we have the funds management, so the wallet so it's very important to build the wallet for us, because this wallet can have Ethereum and Neo addresses.
Right.
So all this is hidden from the user. He don't need to keep track of.
That's
that.
Right. There's not two wallets, just one wallet. Right?
Okay.
Right.
And it shares a private key, basically?
We are not sure because it's a lot in development.
Sure.
But
yeah. I mean, it will be a secure way of storing, these private keys, and it will work for private keys across chains.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you plan to expand to other blockchains in addition to Neo and Ethereum?
This will come with time, and there's no reason why not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the NEX payment service, and how is that going to work?
Right, so this is solving a problem you see right now on the Neo blockchain, which is this distinction between what's called UTXO assets and the sort of smart contract-based assets. So what's great about that is it gives you better scalability, better performance in many situations, but it does sort of create a usability problem from the standpoint of interacting with smart contracts, right? So a smart contract can't just send Neo, for example, to another smart contract. So what we're doing with the payment service is basically creating a representation of Neo as a smart contract-based asset, using a sort of smart contract withdrawal and deposit mechanism that Tom, another of our co-founders, developed. And so given that, what we can do is allow a smart contract to interact with Neo, with Gas, with all the UTXO assets, but as if they were these smart contract-based assets. So it'll allow the sort of smart contracts to process much more complicated logic for things that would otherwise be very difficult in a UTXO-based system.
Okay.
Yeah, to summarize, for the developers doing smart contract, they can call our smart contract and do the trade and withdrawal of global assets without having to implement all this logic that Tom did.
Right.
Okay. The white paper also mentions tethered tokens being added in Q2 of this year. Is that referring to Tether, or is that some other sort of solution?
It's some sort of other solution
Okay.
that we're exploring. So we call it Tether because people know what it is.
Right.
But we were designing something completely different, which we call the Anchor.
Right.
But we are unsure that there's a whole economic issue of being a stable coin on the chain. So we will do the best to provide something that people can trade that is somehow stable, but not perfectly stable. I think we are unsure that this can be done.
Right.
So this Tether that is in the white paper, we probably need to update that, is actually a way to onboard people in crypto. That's the key message that we want to provide there. So we actually have a new system that we're going to open source March 1st, which onboards people directly in gas and NEO,
Right.
instead of going through a Tether. So this will be the first phase. In the future, we're probably going to explore a way to have a coin that is more stable to market moves, but it is not going to be anything like the current Tether.
Right. It's designed to fix some of the issues that
Yeah.
people have with the current Tether.
Right.
Yeah.
So is what you were just talking about during the presentation yesterday? You were demonstrating like a fiat gateway DApp. Is that what you're referring to there?
Yes, it's exactly that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to just use. I'll be able to just use. I don't know, like my debit card or something like that, and purchase Neo directly through the NeoExchange.
Yeah, so this is actually very important and a good opportunity for us. This wallet we are releasing, which is a Chrome extension, is to enable dApps usage. And we are open sourcing a dApp, which is a fiat gateway, which is someone that buys and sells crypto. So what we want to see is people in the community get this code, which is open source and they can use, and launch their own business, buying and selling gas and NEO. And once they have this thing, they do not hold the coin. So instead of being like some of the services like Coinbase, where they hold the tokens for the user, this is a dApp. So they use the extension and the user holds his coins.
Right.
So that's the biggest difference. And by having many integrators that launch this open source system, we can have like a distributed system that provides the same user experience that systems like Coinbase do. So it's really to see whoever takes this challenge. We are excited to see what the community comes about with that.
Yeah, it also makes it much faster to expand sort of across everywhere, right? So if you have different kinds of fiat currency that different people want to integrate, all it takes is another provider for that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's obviously very, very much needed in the space. And you mentioned earlier decentralized banking, so and you said you would leave that open until later, which is great because that's one of my last questions. But the roadmap in the white paper talks about decentralized banking. Can you tell me what you envision there?
So this sense is bigger than it. So this is a question I make to everybody: what to use your bank for? Okay, so I usually will use it to pay stuff and hold my funds. So if you have crypto advanced to the stage that is really usable, and you can hold your funds in your wallet in a safe way, then we are providing the services that people usually use banks for. With the DEX, you have the last mile, which is investing. We believe that many projects are going to have ICOs and tokens, so the word will be tokenized. So you have the funds, you have the means of usage with the payment service, and you have the means of investing. So decentralized banking is not a service, it's the composition of all these platforms.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd add to that is that there's also these ideas of security, right? So when we use banks, we expect security, and it is sort of a bit of a wild west in terms of how people deal with the security issues now. So one kind of open question is how can we maintain the decentralization, but give users a much better security experience, sort of a security user experience.
Yeah,
right.
This is key.
And what do you see NEX looking like at the end of this year? What does it look like at the close of 2018?
This will be exciting.
This is something that we did not plan. Let's see how it goes. I hope we become the biggest exchange in the world. I do hope so.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to answer our questions today, and wish you guys all the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.